Welcome to In Defense of, making the case for overlooked, forgotten or derided movies in 5 minutes or less. Don't have 5 minutes? Here's 5 seconds. Today, In Defense of Blast, a vaguely pointless 1997 action thriller from B-movie legend Albert Pyun.
Faster, my dear, you're almost there!
In the lead up to the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, terrorists take the American women's swim team hostage inside their practice facility. Little do they know they've also locked in janitor Jack Bryant, formerly an Olympic-level martial artist forced to retire through injury. Bryant must take down the terrorists and rescue the swim team, who happen to be coached by his estranged ex-wife. It's Die Hard in a swimming pool. I want to talk about something that no film reviewer or Metacritic score can ever hope to appeal to. Your individuality. I don't mean that in the way of, oh, you're quite flamboyant, you must like musicals, or you're a bit gothy, so you love Tim Burton. I'm talking about those films that you love because you are you. Blast is an entirely unremarkable movie. The same crew and cast made a far more interesting film in the same year on the same set. But I love it, and nobody else on earth loves Blast for the reasons I do. I knew I would love it within seconds of seeing the DVD cover staring at me from the shop shelf. Everyone knows Rutger Hauer. He's been in so much good stuff, both mainstream and cult. But I like Rutger Hauer because in 2006, bored and waiting for a gig to start, me and a friend came up with an idea for a TV show. Rutger Hauer's Deer and Horse Hour. I cherish that time of my life, but those days are long gone. The very notion of Rutger Hauer, however, takes me back there. Andrew Divoff, he's the bad guy in everything. He actually did Die Hard in a Private Boys School a few years prior. I know him from Wishmaster and Another 48 Hours, films that were shown on BBC One's late Friday night slot throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. The slot that showed the kind of weird films that sparked my love for cinema in the first place. Divoff's presence is a happy reminder of those formative years. Lyndon Ashby. He's Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat, but that's actually not what appeals to me about him. In 2002, I had an extended 3-month summer break from school. See, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and I had nowhere to go and nothing to do. In an attempt to create some sort of routine to stave off the cabin fever, every day at midday I would have 2 Chicago Town pizzas for lunch and watch Love Boat: The Next Wave. Don't judge. I only remember one episode where Lyndon Ashby plays the ghost of a soldier. I have a weird kind of nostalgia for that long, empty summer of nothing, and Lyndon Ashby is a very specific link to it. All this was enough for me to take a chance on Blast, and guess what? It paid off. Until I started watching, I didn't even realise this was an Albert Pyun movie. Pyun's a B-movie legend who I especially love for Nemesis. The moment I saw his name, I knew I was going to have fun. Pyun casts a regular entourage of actors, and to my glee, they all show up in Blast. Curly hair man Vincent Klin, the bad guy from Karate Kid 2, Tim Thomerson from Cult Sci-Fi Trancers, and my favourite, Tom Matthews.
Hand me the padlock.
Only Pyun devotees are going to recognise this motley crew, and even then only a fraction are going to get some enjoyment from seeing them. Luckily, I'm among that fraction. That's Shannon Elizabeth. Anyone roughly the same age as me will have fond memories of her a couple of years later in American Pie. Anyone with roughly the same taste in movies as me will have fond memories of her a year earlier in Jack Frost. In terms of traditional B-movie enjoyment, the absolute highlight of Blast is Rutger Hauer. What is he doing? What's the hair about? Why is he using that voice?
Right next to it is a large pumping unit. You can't miss it.
It is never explained, and that's how I like it. Every single review you'll find for Blast says the same thing. Tired plot, middle of the road, for Pyun completionists only. That's entirely fair, and that's my point. No review can ever account for the weirdo who watches because of one episode of the Love Boat revival from 20 years ago. Blast is rubbish. I wouldn't be surprised to learn it was made on the cheap as a tax write-off. Look at that flat, bland lighting and drab interior. It is a lazy copy of Die Hard, right down to the character relationships. Remember Ellis in Die Hard? The sleazy guy who has the hots for the hero's wife, who gets himself killed when he tries to cut a deal with the terrorists. That is literally exactly Tom Matthews' character here. I also have no idea what the terrorists' demands are or what they're trying to achieve. I imagine they mention it once in the movie and never again, and I wasn't paying attention.
But I'm afraid I'm going to have to go in anyway, my friend.
Not without a ticket, pal.
If you enjoyed Die Hard and its many imitators, Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a train, Die Hard on another boat, you'll get a kick out of Blast. It's probably better than Speed 2 for what it's worth. Watching a Scorsese or Tarantino can be an enlightening cinematic experience, but it's an experience shared with millions of others. It's just not the same as stumbling upon some late night obscurity and falling in love with it. Everyone watches movies starring Scarlett Johansson or Ryan Gosling based on their presence alone because they're bankable megastars. It's when you find yourself seeking out flicks starring Gary Daniels or Reggie Bannister or Monique Gabrielle, whichever minor personality appeals to you, that cinema starts rewarding you for your personal tastes. The very fact that I took a chance on a critical non-entity like Blast because it reminded me of some minor events in my teenage years is testament to that. So, Rutger Hauer's Deer and Horse Hour. The idea is simple. Stock footage of deer and horses with a voiceover provided by Rutger Hauer. He'd simply talk about his life, his career, and occasionally interject to discuss the wildlife on screen. Honestly, if I had the money, I would make this. Hey Adult Swim, I think it would be perfect for your format. Call me.